You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to One-on-One, a KC Sports Network podcast. Our first episode of 2023. Still Super Bowl champions in Kansas City, baby. We're going forward for another year. Big Jeff, how you doing, brother? Welcome back.
I'm doing great. I see a good friend below me.
Man, we have such a good friend on. I'm so excited. We have Big Eric Fisher on the podcast today to kick it off, episode 1. Big Fish, how you doing, brother? Thank you so much for tuning in.
I'm doing great, man. I don't do this much, but when you guys text me, I was like, I can't let these guys down. You guys are two of my favorite former colleagues, former teammates. We played a lot of ball together, so been passed up this opportunity. Thank you.
Brother, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Just seeing your face, it really, Kansas City, we talk about it, Jeff, how Kansas City has that sign, you come in as teammates, you leave as a family.
Yeah.
And when I was with the Jets, I made really good friends, but there was something about KC that really played out like that. So Fish, when I saw you, man, I'm like ready to cry. I'm like, man, I miss this brother so much. So thank you so much for coming on, Big Fish. Big Jeff, it's great to see you again. So we're 2 days away from the draft, so we figured we start our first episode talking about our draft stories because it's really unique. We really cover the spectrum between the three of us of draft day stories. You guys actually getting drafted and then me, nothing really happening. So, but Big Fish, let's start with you, man, because it was so exciting. I remember signing as an undrafted or as a free agent that year in 2013 with the Chiefs, Andy Reid coming over from Philly and watching the draft, first pick, Eric Fisher. And then I remember I saw you come into the locker room. I was thinking, this dude looks like he could play every position. Like if you played the outside linebacker, wide receiver, offensive tackle, I was like, I've never seen anything like it. But what I'm curious about, brother, is, rewinding the tape a little bit. What was the process like for you in college leading up to the draft? I mean, when did you realize that you had an opportunity to go in the first round, let alone have the possibility to be the first pick overall in the draft?
Man, you're making me go back here. My brain is 10 years ago. 10 years ago today, actually. I know we're recording this, but 10 years ago today. But I think one of my favorite memories about the pre-draft process before my senior year, I'm sitting in northern Michigan on a boat fishing with my cousin. My cousin was a Marine. He was kind of like my life mentor at that time and still is. I mean, awesome guy. And we're sitting on the boat fishing, and this is July, so just right before my senior training camp, and I was just talking to him about the NFL, and nobody really ever told me sophomore, junior year, like, hey man, you might have what it takes, and so I was just talking to him, and I'm like, man, if I could just get on the practice squad, that would be so cool, and then it was just like a freaking rocket ship after that, man, and it just took off. I remember some, I don't even know who it was, some random agent, the agents start calling and trying to recruit you. And he was just saying yeah, you got a first or third round grade on you. It shocked me. I was like, what are you talking about? Nobody, no coach, nobody at Central Michigan ever said anything, which looking back on it, I think was such a blessing because I wasn't focused on anything other than be the best player, be the best me I can be. And so I wasn't distracted by any of that, going through my senior year. And I was just myself, took care of business my senior year. And then, you guys know, after that senior year ends, it's just it's go time for draft prep. And you go through all the training, everyone, gets set up training, and then you go Senior Bowl if you're invited, or one of the bowl games, and then the combine, and then the visits and the workouts, and man, what a crazy time of life, and what an awesome time of life that is, especially coming out of a small school. We had some guys before me, but it was one or two a year, only one former first round pick, so there was a lot that went into it, but what a whirlwind. And it was just take it day by day, go with it, and man, looking back on it, it was so awesome. I remember, my mom would always text me, and she was telling me, well, this is where the draft boards have you. And it's just like, man, like I'm not, I'm first off, I'm like studying engineering during my senior year and like getting into all those like harder level classes and trying to focus on stuff. And so there's just like a lot going on. But it was so cool, man. And then, go to the Senior Bowl, and I had a pretty good Senior Bowl, which, put me, I think, a little bit more on the radar, and then put some good numbers down at the combine. And then, yeah, man, it was so funny. Through all that process, I never talked to the Chiefs till they came to my individual workout at Central Michigan. Like, that was the first communication I had with them. I think it's, obviously a big game leading up, especially when you got the first pick. But yeah, I had a good workout with them, had a good meeting with them. And yeah, I just remember sitting in that our team room with Coach Reed, Coach Heck, John Dorsey, and I mean, just grilling me. And yeah, man, talk about some good memories, and then the rest is history. But it really was a special time of life. And then, obviously, however, 8 years later, world champion. And I mean, what a good, really good memories going through all that. And then through my time in Kansas City.
Man, Fish, that's incredible, man. I want to circle back to your friend, because you talked about how you didn't let the sort of pressure of worrying about, getting drafted or anything like that get to you. But did anything change after that conversation as far as like how you approached football, where it was like, oh wow, like this could really be a career? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it like nothing changed, because in the end it was just me and my cousin sitting on a boat. Like, I didn't know I had a first or third round grade on me coming out of I had no idea. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I think it was such a blessing not knowing, looking back on it. I mean, back then, before going through everything, would be like, yeah, I wouldn't want to know. But no, it was just, man, it was just work, and take care of business. And no, nothing changed. I obviously just, I think in my mind, I was like, yeah, I want to play in the NFL. And no, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, just work. I mean, that's kind of my mentality my whole life, is just work.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I didn't realize you were an engineering degree too, brother. That's
wild. Yeah, he's smart, man.
That's incredible, man. I knew you were smart, but like so my dad was an engineer, and when I was getting recruited by the University of Maine, I signed the letter of intent, and I was filling out the classes, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be an engineer like my dad. So I filled out all the classes, and the academic lady, the academic lady called me like once she got the sheet, and she's like, you can't do that. She's like, you're going to play football. Like, you're not doing that. So, oh man.
I mean, running deuce blocks with my guy Jeff there was much better than doing like 4-page math problems.
100%.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Bro, so one thing I found interesting, you talked to me about, I don't know if you remember the conversation with Dorsey and Andy Reid and those guys when they came to your school. Like, what were those questions like? Do you remember what they were talking about?
Gosh, yeah, I remember, they just had me, show us your man scheme plays, your zone schemes, and basically talk us through, like, coach would be installing a play. And, and then here, again, not every college, O-line room's doing that. I mean, a lot of guys are still learning and whatnot. So, I tried to study as much as I could, learn the fronts, and and then of course everywhere has different terminology for fronts, and and then Coach Reed was just like, hey, we're here for the first overall pick. Show us what you got. It was really cool, man. Really good memories.
That's awesome.
So what was that feeling like when that pick was called and you were number one? Obviously, you knew before the pick went in. Did you know that? Did you know?
So that I was thinking about that today. Everyone thinks I knew because my mom and my sister wore red dresses to the draft.
Really?
I can tell you that, yes, there was like some random stuff draft week in New York. Like they chose me to ring the closing bell on the stock market.
Okay.
It was like, okay, that's kind of like, a flag there. But I honestly can say, like, the night before, so, I'm from Detroit, or outside Detroit, and Detroit had the 5th pick, and I was like, telling my agent, I was like, I want to go to Detroit if I'm not going higher than that. And like, so we were trying to get Detroit to like trade up to get me the night before, but I swear I did not know that I was going to Kansas City. It's actually crazy. I was sitting there, Kansas City's on the clock, and you wouldn't believe how many people are trying to call me while Kansas City's on the clock. Here's my phone ringing, and it's just amazing, man. And then that phone rings, and talk about like I have no idea what that conversation was about. Like it was like, this is really happening. And then just being at Radio City, man, how awesome and historic that was. I think it's really cool what they're doing, now going city to city. What an opportunity for markets and, just expanding the brand. Obviously it's good business. But I do cherish the fact that my year was at, Radio City, because there's so many picturesque moments that, from history, and just, to be one overall in that building at that time. I mean, it was really, really cool.
What were you doing the night before? Were you just going around sightseeing, doing stuff like that? I mean, hanging out with the other guys?
I think so, man. Oh gosh, you guys, this is a story I don't think I've even told Jeff here. I'm a simple dude, man, and I cut my own hair and gave myself my own lineup, man. So that's what I was doing the night before, man. I cut my hair throughout high school, just straight buzz cut, man.
This is the perfect transition to my next question, man. Like, obviously, a lot changed when you got drafted #1 overall. But the biggest thing that we all noticed, besides being an NFL player and fulfilling that dream, is the money, man. That #1 overall pick, fully guaranteed that contract. And I can tell you from experience, this guy's the exact same. I'm excited on before he got drafted, but from that story of him had his own, yeah, he did the same big in the NFL.
Yeah. When you talking about growth, I'm a weekly barber visit now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you got kids now. You don't have time to do. You got kids now.
Yeah, man. But yeah. I don't even want to know, like, what was it? Bradford was the last one on the old CBA.
Yeah.
I don't like that would have, like, I don't even want to think about that. But like, I mean, what a blessing. I worked my butt off through college, high school, and overcame a lot. And I think it was God's way of rewarding some hard work. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, what a life-changing thing. And I, like you said, Jeff, I don't like to talk about myself, but I do like to think that I'm the same guy that it was.
You are, man. Listen, and I don't know if you want me to tell the people this, but Fish wore the same suit this entire rookie year on the road. I was like, dude, you're the #1 overall pick. You can at least get you a black or blue, maybe a gray. He's wearing the same suit and the same shoes every single road trip. Like,
that's awesome, Fish. That's awesome, man.
I just love a good shopping, man.
Oh, so Fish,
but I ain't the only one. I'm not the guy who won the team mission poll.
Oh, you're not, but you're the #1 pick, man.
Yeah, Fish has no you.
You get off the bus, the camera goes directly on you, man. Like, you have all the attention. Like, you gotta look good, man.
Was it the same draft day? Was it the same draft day?
It wasn't the same. It wasn't. Oh, John.
Oh, that's great. Fish, what was it like when you got to get, like, what was it like, you get drafted? Do you fly right out to KC at that point? And then what was it like when you were like, wow, I mean, in the Chiefs facility and now it's real. Now you're one of the guys.
Yeah, man. Still there. Brad G was actually out there, man.
Where?
Good guys from my KC days. He's still there. And he was, kind of took me through the ropes. So here I am at drafted. I think by the time I left Radio City, it was like midnight, 1 o'clock or something. I mean, after all the media and stuff. And here I am, like, going to go out and party with my family, celebrate, yada, yada. Brad comes up to me. He's like, hey, we're leaving for the airport at 4. and be ready. It's going to be a long day. I was like, what? And like literally 12 hours later, I'm sitting in the O-line room with Coach Heck, just like jumping right in, man. I'm in like my street clothes, just kind of, and yeah, it was crazy. I flew out there and met everybody, and, toured the facility and met. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how many people that were there that day are still there, and you think about Alan Wright, and Brad, and Ted, and a lot of the guys, and so yeah, there's just like I said, it was such a whirlwind, man. Like it was just like day after day of like, here's something new, but yeah, again, all good memories, man.
Yeah, Fish, man. And I remember too, after you got there and got going, I just remember being, even for, the number one pick, going from college to the NFL was obviously a transition for everybody. But I knew from day one, I still remember vividly the first time I met you, you carried yourself like a pro. And that's why you've been, so successful. It's just, we laugh about the suits and stuff, but you were there to play ball and play ball well. And man, you did a hell of a job of it, brother. So this is fun to reminisce on it. Yeah, really cool stuff. But let's go quickly to a break. We're going to talk about our sponsors, and then we'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Kansas City, the NFL draft is here. It is draft week in Kansas City, and what a time it is for our city. Just winning a Super Bowl thanks to Andy Reid and company, and now hosting the NFL draft. It's an incredible time to be in Kansas City and to be a Kansas City sports fan. And regardless of who you root for, there's only one selection that every football fan can share, and that's an ice-cold Miller Lite. Look, the players change, the coaches change, the rules change, but Miller Lite is still the perfect beer for draft time, game time, and everything in between. When I want a beer with some flavor, I go to the cooler and I reach for a Miller Lite. It's light on calories, not light on taste. It's the perfect beer for watching football, watching soccer, watching any Kansas City sports, and hanging out with the boys. It's my go-to. So kickoff comes around again. Enjoy the beer that tastes like the season, Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/KCSN, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
Well, welcome back, everyone. All right, that was Big Fish. Now, Big Jeff, you're day two. I mean, you were day two, right? You're second round pick.
Day two, yeah.
Talk to me about your process, man. What was it like that time in college where you finally, you first found out like, oh wow, I have a chance to, get drafted in the NFL, get drafted high?
I found out my sophomore season. So my sophomore year, we faced Purdue, and at the time, Ryan Kerrigan was ripping through the Big Ten. I mean, he was leading the country in sacks. His nickname at the time was Superman. Like, he was just embarrassing people on film. And I remember going in that matchup, thinking like, I don't have a chance. I was like, this guy is just killing everyone. But I got into the game. I got into a groove early on, and I got that confidence, and I felt like I could block him out. I shut him out that game. He didn't have any statistics, no tackles, no sacks. And after that game, I can remember my coach coming up to me, Ron Zook. He's like, look, listen, man, like, that was a big-time player. If you continue to be consistent, you're going to have a chance to be in the National Football League. And, of course, there were a lot of ups and downs, and there were a lot of learning moments throughout my college career. But that moment was when I realized that I could play with anybody. And after that, I played guys like Brandon Graham. I remember playing Aaron Maben. He was absolutely killing everybody as well. And I had success against all those guys and gave me confidence.
Man, that's incredible because what year was that for you? Was that your senior year?
No, my senior year was in 2008.
Okay, so this was the year before.
This was my sophomore year. So that was 2010.
Oh, so you knew right away.
Yeah, I mean, I got that. And it actually drove me, man. Like, it was one of those things where I felt like I wanted to fulfill my potential. I didn't want to leave any stone unturned, so I did everything in my willpower to be the best player possible. I mean, coming in, I wasn't recruited very, very highly. My only Power 5 offer was Illinois, and I was for my senior year going to a camp And the offensive line coach stood on the table for me and gave me an opportunity. I don't think anybody outside of that wanted me there at the time. He let me seriously, like he let me know it early on. I graduated high school semester early. I went down in the spring, and I was out of shape like hell. Like listen, dude, like snacks, all type of crap. So my senior year, I needed one course, so I was going to school for one period, and then going back home, playing video games, eating snacks, shooting the shit. I knew I had a scholarship. And I knew I was graduating early. So my strength coach at the time, University of Illinois, sent me a program and said, hey, this is what you have to do to be ready when you come in. I read the program. I'm like, I don't know what any of this shit is. we didn't lift weights in high school. Like we barely had any resources. It just wasn't a thing. We didn't have off-season training. So I'm reading these things and I'm like reporting back like, yeah, I did the RDOs. I didn't know what RDO was. Yeah, whatever. I was like, it's their job to get me in shape, whatever. So I get down there mid-year. You know how it is in college. You get there in the spring, and it's winter conditioning. It's like the toughest time of the year in most programs. And I got down there, and they kicked my butt, man. It was a lot of thoughtful and lonely nights. There were some things. There were some bad thoughts, man. I can remember going through the entire conditioning program. We got to 6 a.m. I couldn't make a run. You know, everybody's giving me crap about it. And I could just remember saying, hey, wait until we put on pads, man. Just wait. Just wait. We get to spring ball and we put on pads and I put my knee braces on the wrong way the first practice.
It's always on the back.
Man, I put them on the wrong way. And no one told me. Nobody fucking told me.
How does that even work?
No one told me I had the left on the right and the right on the left. Oh. And I get to individual, right? And we were doing Indy, and I was the only person that went the entire period. So I was a mid-year guy, and there was another guy named Grant Posick, one of my best friends. We were 2 freshmen, and then the rest of the guys were older guys, mostly in our room. But I can remember vividly, I had to go over and over the entire individual period because I wasn't doing the drill right. And the horn blew, and then we went into team. And then entire practice, I was with the 2s and 3s, so I'm running back-to-back reps. And I can remember after that practice, I cramped the entire night. And I called my mom, and I was like, we've put the pads on, and I don't think it's for me. But no, she told me, she gave me a talk, and she said, hey, listen, it's only going to get better from here. I didn't want to get better from here. And, you know, what are you going to come back to, man? Yeah. You have a scholarship, you're getting an education. You know, just continue to work, keep your head down, don't worry about it. It's going to be hard, but it's going to get better. And that's what I poured my entire career. Went into that summer, finally caught up with everyone with strength. I stayed the entire off season. By the time the rest of the freshmen came in, I was up to speed. I started as a true freshman, and I got it. I guess it was from freak accidents. I was playing guard, and our top 2 tackles went down in training camp. And then our third tackle, he did something minor, but we were down to no tackles. And like, hey, we got to give you a shot, Jeff. You got to go out there. So I went out there in one-on-ones and had a good rep. Coach said, do it again. I did it again. He's like, okay, you may be a tackle. I don't know if you're a guard. So from there, I spent the whole training camp with the ones and had a hell of a training camp. And we went out against Mizzou that first game and, hey, you're going to start. And I started the entire time and never gave it back.
And that was it.
He's been holding on to playing tackle since.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. Honestly, man, I mean, that was my natural position, man. I mean, It is what it is. I didn't look like fish, you know. They used to say,
I couldn't believe when Jeff, what was that, like my second, third year or something, you were playing like tackle football.
Yeah, man. That's what I was a natural tackle. It was just, I didn't look like the number 1 overall pick like Fish did. You know, my coach used to tell me, he said, hey, you got a BMW. I'm like, what is that? You know, I have a BMW. He's like, body made wrong. I was like, man, that's a hell of an acronym. But, you know, I wore that shit on my chest, man. I went out there. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care how you feel. Look, I'm going to kick your ass.
Yeah, I'm going to own a cookie company.
I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to take over the cookie world, man. I'm going to sponsor a show. You hear me?
Oh man, check them out, cookiesociety.com.
Yeah.
Big Fish, was it a similar process for you coming out of high school? Were you heavily recruited, or was it, what did that look like?
It's just funny, like listening to Jeff. I feel like every person who goes on and has an NFL career has a story similar. It's like, you go through, going to the 1-day camps, and I wish I had a Power 5 team interested in me. I had an offer from Central Michigan and Eastern Michigan. I think I made the right choice. Andrew Wiley might disagree. But no, man. And then it's like, these coaches are in your house kissing your butt, and then you get to campus and it's like, wait, who are you? It's just grinding you, man. And, it's just such a learning experience that, freshman year. And, man, I really think every guy's got like a story like Jeff's, the growing pains, and, you sit in your dorm room asking yourself what you're doing. And, yeah, man, but, it all, works out in the end, pays off. And, and you look back on it, here we are so many years later, and it's like, you look back on it, it's like, man, I'm glad I went through that and learned all I did.
No doubt. No question. Big Jeff, so let's fast forward now, senior year, you get finished up. What does the process look like going into the draft? Do you go to bowl games, pro days, all that stuff combined?
I came out my senior year, so I had the opportunity to, play in the Senior Bowl. But it was by chance. I had a 3rd to 5th round grade on me coming out. I got invited to the East-West Shrine game. I made the decision not to play in that game because me and my agent had a conversation. If I went there and dominated, it was what I was supposed to do. If I didn't have a good day, and it could potentially hurt me. And the only game that could give me any upside was the Senior Bowl, so I waited. I got a call. I was down at IMG Academy training for the Combine and my pro day, hoping to get a call from the Senior Bowl. An offensive lineman went down the first day, and they gave me a call, and I went down there, had a really good showing. A lot of teams like what I was doing at center and guard. I didn't even get the opportunity to play tackle. They were like, you're going to be an interior guy. But I had a good showing, and that ultimately gave me an opportunity to take that momentum to the Combine. Had a good day there, met with a bunch of teams. Did not talk to the Chiefs at all. Not one time. Didn't even see them at my pro day. Don't remember meeting with them at the Combine. We get to draft day. Obviously, I get picked in the first round. I didn't expect that to happen. But I thought I was going to get picked by the Cowboys. They ended up trading their second round pick. They actually verbally told me they were going to pick me, but they traded up into the first round and traded their second round pick. So I knew that was off the table. After that, I wasn't sure. No one told me they were going to draft me beside them. Went into the second round, and I got a call right at the first pick of the second round, and I thought it was going to be Miami, right? I was like, okay, Miami's had the number 1 pick in the first round. I was like, I'm going to Miami. This is dope. South Beach.
Yeah.
This is going to be awesome. I'm going to be out on the beach laid out. And it was an 816 area code. Miami's 305. That was 816.
Yeah.
So I pick up the phone, and it's at the time, I forget his name, but it was the running backs coach. He's like, hey, this is such and such from the Kansas City Chiefs. If you make it to the 44th pick, we're going to draft you. I'm like, we're at pick 33 right now. What gives you guys so much confidence on me? BMW, baby. Yeah, BMW. Then they hand the phone. They hand the phone over to Romeo Crennel, Scott Pioli, who was the GM at the time who drafted me, and they gave me the quick spiel. And then I talked to the media there. And after that, I hung up the phone, and it was real. Everything sank in, and my first thought, honestly, was I was like, man, I made the NFL, but then I was like, what the hell is in Kansas City? I knew, not in a negative way by any means. I was like, what is in Kansas City? The only thing that I knew about Kansas City was like from Wizard of Oz, yellow brick roads. Like, I'm thinking I'm going to this really country place that there's nothing there. But honestly, it was the best thing that could happen to me. It's one of my favorite places. It's our second home. Like, honestly, we would have stayed there if we didn't make our way back to Texas during free agency that first time. But it's a great place, great people, a lot of good memories. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
And when you first got in the locker room, brother, what was that like when you first got on scene?
It was awesome. So I got in there. you remember Donald Stevenson, both of you guys.
Yeah.
That was my roommate when we first came in, and we were staying in the hotels, and we were getting caught up to speed. We're both O-linemen, so we were studying one another. Neither one of us started right off the bat. I got my opportunity because of injury. Rodney Hudson got hurt during the Saints game. I believe it was like the third week. And Ryan Loja had to move to center, and I was the next up to guard. And I had a great game. Like, I dominated. It's so great. I was playing Cedric Ellis. He was a huge name. He was All-American at USC. And I kicked his ass, and I felt really good about it. I was like, man, I could play in this league, man. It's easy, Our first play was like seriously, it was outside zone. Jamal went right off of me for 70 yards, touchdown, his head off the goalpost. Like, oh man, I got this.
That's awesome.
Very next week, we're playing San Diego, and I'm playing against my former roommate, Corey Legit. In Kansas City, we go to lunch the day before. We hang out a little bit, shooting the crap with my friend, right? And then we get into the game, and he kicks my ass. He kicks my ass, and then we play the Raiders the next week, same thing. Richard Seymour, I know he's on the back end of his career, but same thing. Thomas Kelly, these avatar-looking dudes, just gave me a tough time. So I hit a rough patch for about maybe 4 or 5 weeks. And it wasn't like terrible games, but there was always like 1 or 2 really critical plays where it was like, you knew I fucked up.
Yeah, fair.
It was him. Like, I'm talking. So I was getting it from every angle. And that social media was just hitting the seed. I was stupid enough to be on it. And
that's tough.
I was stupid enough to be on it, and I'm like, man, they're absolutely killing me in here. I got to get better. But honestly, I wouldn't trade any of it. Like, all of my failures have shaped me into the man that I'm in today, the husband, the father. Like, all those hard things, and Fish kind of alluded to it earlier with college. Like, all of those moments, that's what shapes you. Like, if everything was easy, then you're not doing anything worth a shit. Right? You're not growing, you're not getting any better. So I was happy to go through it, now that I look back in it. But while I was going through it, boy, it was really tough. But it made me a better football player. And fast forward to that second year, that's when I got a lot better.
Oh, I remember that because that was my year I got there. Yeah, thinking about it from as a parent, just to sort of tangent real quick, like, that's the hardest thing I have to deal with my kids, because like, same idea. Like, I with my stories, like, I know how important it is to go through that stuffing, the trials, all those things. And I see now as a parent, the conversation that your mom had with you, how difficult that is, because you just want to take that stuff away from them. You know what I mean? Like, you just want to, but at the same time, I'm like, damn, if I just take everything out of the picture and make it just easy, they won't be able to make it in the real world. You know what I mean? So just as a parent, I'm like, wow, how important that is to raise them up that way. But that's a tangent. We're going to take a quick break, one more quick break, and we'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
And welcome back, everyone. Big Fish, before we move on to my story, which is not nearly as cool as your guys, what was your first year like? Because, Jeff sort of took us through his first year. Did you have the sort of ups and downs, or what was your first season in the NFL like? I know a lot of
you go back to Jeff's question, about the money and all that. It's just like, to whom much is given, much is expected, man. And coming out of a small school, and I rarely, once a year basically have that one big game against a big time team or something, and then go to training camp, and here's Justin Houston in his like prime, and I know it's 23 stacked year, man, and I've gone from left tackle to right tackle, and had some like injuries in training camp, but like first overall pick, you got to battle through all that stuff and just keep going. Man, there was definitely some growing pains. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But, again, those mistakes you make, man, you learn from and you grow, and they either break you or they build you, man. Like, I wasn't going to get broke, and, Jeff was there. Jeff was an instant friend, man, in KC, and, through training camp. And it was just, it's such an eye-opening experience, because, you think college training camps are tough, and it's just, there's no comparison, especially with an Andy Reid training camp, especially back. I mean, you guys.
Oh man,
Doggone. But yeah, man, it was a grind, man. And that Missouri heat, like, I'm from Michigan. We always had like nice, cool falls.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man. But yeah, and then you just go through the season, and it's just crazy to think about. You look back at my time in Kansas City, first overall pick, never had a losing, like, and then I played 2 more years, other places, but I've never had a losing season, which is just like unbelievable. But then my time in Kansas City, I had 1 O-line coach, 1 head coach, two GMs, but like, I mean, that is so rare to like have that core. And like, so like my time in KC is like so memorable because it wasn't full of like change and drama. And, you see, how other places are. And I realized what a blessing it was to be under Andy Reid. And, I mean, he's just by far like the real deal, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he was on me, man. I mean, he is such an awesome coach, such an awesome man. And I mean, he was riding me, my rookie year, man. It was tough, man, because like there was nowhere to go. Like, it's like, you are succeeding. I don't care, like, no matter what, like, I don't care what it takes, what you got to go through, how bad it's got to be, but like, you're going to succeed. And, it's just like, again, we just keep talking about it, man. Looking back on it, it's like, man, it's awesome to like, be built as a man like that. And, yeah, pretty wild.
That's so cool. That is so cool, Fish. Yeah, and we've talked about it before, Jeff. The sort of, and to your point, Fish, the way that Andy Reid and them have kept that locker room together. There was a point where there was a lot of changeover, but I remember coming down to visit you guys when you came to play New England, and you stayed in Rhode Island. This was like 3 years after I retired, and basically the team was the same. Now the same guys, all the same coaches, the same staff. Like, that's how you get it done in the NFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the things that gets it done. I was always so impressed by that. But yeah, that's great, Big Fish. That's awesome, man. Just quickly on my story, totally different than you guys in the sense that I was recruited by virtually no one coming out of high school. I mean, so actually, similar to, was it, Jeff, did you say that Fish, somebody saw you at a camp at high school, or is that? Oh yeah, so somebody.
I think that's everybody.
Yeah, same with me. I guess.
Yeah.
So I remember I was at Eastern Michigan, and they were just like, I was in like the last. I had never played a line before. I'm teaching myself, and they're like, "Who are you?"
That's right. That's right. Yeah. No, I mean, that was it. I went to a camp in high school, and University of Maine coach was there and saw me and liked it, liked how I was playing. And they were the only team that offered me, and they offered me $1,000 to come, be a part of UMaine, and so it was like basically walking on there. And I was always slower to develop. Football wasn't natural. The one thing that helped me throughout my entire career was I was just strong. My dad was a professional bodybuilder, weightlifter. And so like I was lifting weights from the time I was 12. In fact, when I look at my life, if I can go back till the time I was 12 till now, there were 2 seasons where I had to miss 2 weeks of lifting weights. One when I tore my shoulder, and another time when I had meningitis. Other than that, there hasn't been a week since I've been 12 that I haven't been lifting weights regularly that I missed. And so like that was my secret weapon. And so in college, I was able, even though I didn't have the talent, I was able to sort of separate myself because I was just stronger than everybody. And that took me till about my junior year. My junior year, I finished, I finished all conference. And just like you guys, the agents started to call and things like that. And, but still, nobody really seriously interested. Just sort of like, hey, you're on our radar a little bit, whatever. And then I'm very fortunate going into my senior year. I had a good senior year. But that team that I was on, we had one of the best defenses in FCS history. I mean, we allowed, I think it was 9 yards rushing per game. Like that was the average per game. something like 11 points per game. It was one of the best defenses in FCS history when I came out. And so we had a lot of good players on the team, especially on the defense. And we had a safety who was projected to get drafted in the 3rd and 4th round. And so at my pro day and at the, just leading up to the pro day, a lot of NFL teams were coming to practices, coming to the games, agents coming up there because everybody was looking at him. And so because of that, I was able to get a little bit of, they were able to see me a little bit because all those teams up there seeing him. And I actually was able to get my agent because the guy he was recruiting, the player who was really good, he went with somebody else. And so my agent was like, well, we have a spot. Why don't you come over with us? You know what I mean? It's like, that was basically the deal. But I didn't talk to any teams. The only team that called me prior to the draft was the Jets to say, hey, we have some interest in you. And then leading up to the draft, I didn't expect to get drafted. I mean, I watched the draft, but I didn't really expect to get drafted. And then getting into the 7th round, teams started calling. So this was like, for me, it really becoming a possibility. It didn't happen until the 7th round of the 2007 NFL draft. The Chargers were calling, the Ravens started calling, the Jets called. I was like, wow, I might there actually is going to be some opportunity here. And draft is over. All those teams are trying to sign me as an undrafted free agent. And my agent had some sort of algorithm or something that took into account, who was on the roster, what their salaries were like, how long they were playing in the league, are they injury prone, all these different things that went into the current state of the Jets roster and all these various other teams. And my agent was like, look, the Jets are the best place for you to go if you're going to make the team. Like, this is the opportune spot. And what was interesting about that is, like, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. My family's from New York, and we grew up Jets fans. I mean, I was rooting for the Jets my whole life. And so it was like, wow, this is going to be my first opportunity in New York. And so he said, yeah, let's go. Let's sign it. And I just remember being amazed, like calling my family saying, hey, I signed with the Jets. Now, I didn't know how long it was going to last. We went to the rookie mini camp, and my buddy who was on the team when we were in Maine also signed with the Jets. He was an All-American, and he got cut after the first day of rookie mini camp. So I was like, damn, I'm not going to, he was a hell of a lot better than I am. I'm not going to be here for long. But I just kept, doing, like you guys said, working, grinding, used to that, coming from high school, having to make a name for myself, in college, having to make my name for myself, and just sort of putting my head down and getting after it. And, I carved out a spot, and we had 4 draft picks that year. The Jets had 4 draft picks. The first pick that year was Revis. David Harris was the second pick, and then 2 other guys. And then I was the only undrafted free agent to make the active roster week 1. And I got, again, very lucky and very fortunate because Eric Mangini, who was the coach at the time, really put a precedence on hard work. It's like I knew I didn't have the talent, but I was like, I'm just going to outwork everybody. I'm going to be the first person in line. I'm getting after it in the weight room. I'm going to go out early. And so I remember him having a conversation like, look, we don't think you're, totally ready yet. You probably shouldn't have made this team, but like, you outworked everybody. So we're going to give you a shot. And, that got me onto the active roster. And I remember, and I've told this story before, Jeff, but in high school, I went to a small school and we didn't have the names on the back of our jerseys, and then I get to college, same thing, smaller FCS school, didn't have the names on our jerseys. But then I got to the NFL. I remember my first preseason game, going into that locker room and seeing DeVito on the back of a Jets jersey, right? The team I grew up rooting for. And I was just like, man, I can't believe this. And then I get to run out in Jets Stadium in front of, 500 crazy Italian family members yelling my name, you know what I mean? With that name on the back of my jersey, just being like, I can't believe this. But, that work ethic and that struggle and all the stuff that, it's interesting hearing your stories because even though we covered the spectrum of sort of, where we came from and where we got drafted and things like that, that core element of like the hard work, the perseverance, the head down and grinding, like it's totally present in all of our stories. And I think one reason that allowed me to play 9 years in the league and a reason it allowed you guys to play. You know, how many guys got drafted in the first round, second round that didn't make it 2 years?
Yeah.
You know, you guys are Pro Bowlers, Super Bowl champions, decade in the NFL. You know, the thing that I think is unique that allowed all of us to do that, regardless of our, you know, where we started, was that sort of, we're going to get after it. We're going to grind. And that's why it's easy to call you guys brothers too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And like, I think that's what makes the locker room such a special place. And I mean, not everyone gets to experience the locker room, but like we talk about it all the time. It's like, here we are, just 53 guys, however many get 60 guys from like polar opposites walks of life. And it is the strangest, like, harmonious thing that just works. And it just, I mean, because we've all experienced the adversity, we've overcome the adversity, and we just kept going.
You're right.
Like, it's just, I think that's the coolest thing about the locker room, man, and there ain't nowhere else like it.
Nope. It's the thing I hands down miss the most about the NFL. And it's so cliche, but what I wouldn't do to go back and be a part of that locker room again.
Would you go to another training camp?
I would. If that means that I could go in that locker room with you two guys.
I would too.
In a second. You just can't cultivate those relationships outside of there. They just, well, I won't go off on that tangent. Big Fish, 45 minutes, brother. Thank you so much for your time, man, your insight. I love you, brother. So grateful you came on. And
thank you, brother.
I know it'd be hard to get you back on again, but I'm going to try. But thank you so much.
Man, I appreciate you. Good.
This is it, man. This is the last time we're here for Fish.
Ever again.
Thank you, man.
Hey, I bought new seats. Maybe I'll come on again.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Big Jeff, thank you, brother. Great to be back at it. Love you, bro. Chiefs Kingdom, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again soon with another episode of One on One.
Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Check out these videos that feature our team of more than 15 former players, insiders, and analysts, bringing you the best Chiefs coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.